Imagine an empire so powerful, so immense, that it seemed destined to last forever. A city of glory, protected by walls no army could breach. This was Babylon. But what if this unstoppable empire vanished, not with a bang, but with a whisper? How could it crumble so suddenly? The story begins in ashes. Once mighty, Babylon lay in ruins, a vassal state crushed under the brutal heel of the Assyrian Empire. For centuries, Babylon suffered. Its people were subjugated, and rebellion after rebellion was mercilessly stamped out by the Assyrian war machine. But a fire was kindling. A Chaldean general named Nabopolassar saw a weakness in the seemingly invincible Assyrian armor and seized his moment. In 626 BC, Nabopolassar was crowned king. This was a declaration of war, a promise of vengeance against their long-time oppressors. He forged a powerful alliance with the Medes. Together, their combined strength would finally challenge the balance of power in the ancient world. The war was long and bloody. For years, the fate of the Near East hung in the balance. Cities were besieged and empires trembled. Finally, in 612 BC, the Allied forces reached Nineveh. The city, once the terror of the world, was utterly destroyed. The Assyrian Empire collapsed, creating a power vacuum. Nabopolassar's new Babylonian kingdom was perfectly positioned to fill it. His son, a young, ambitious prince, was ready. His name was Nebuchadnezzar II, a name that would soon echo through history as a legend. At the Battle of Carchemish in 605 BC, Nebuchadnezzar crushed the remnants of the Egyptian and Assyrian armies, securing Babylon's dominance. While on campaign, he learned his father was dead. Nebuchadnezzar raced back to Babylon to claim his throne and begin his legendary reign. His ambition was limitless. He envisioned Babylon as the center of the world, a city that would be marveled at for all time. Under his rule, the empire expanded rapidly. He was a brilliant strategist, conquering lands from the Persian Gulf to the borders of Egypt. He subdued the kingdom of Judah, besieging Jerusalem twice. His conquests were ruthless, cementing his reputation as an invincible king of kings. But Nebuchadnezzar was also a master builder. He would transform Babylon into the most magnificent city the world had ever seen. He constructed a colossal double-wall system around Babylon, so thick and so high that it was said to be impenetrable. The famous Ishtar Gate, covered in brilliant glaze and depictions of mythical beasts, served as the majestic entrance to his grand city. Inside, a grand processional way, lined with statues of lions, led to the heart of the city, guiding visitors toward the religious complex. He rebuilt the great ziggurat, a Temenanki, reaching towards the heavens. Some believe it inspired the biblical Tower of Babel. For his homesick wife, he created the legendary Hanging Gardens, a mountain of green in the desert, one of the seven wonders. This was the Golden Age. Babylon became the world's epicenter for astronomy, mapping the stars and developing complex systems of calculation. The empire was at its zenith. Its armies were undefeated, and its coffers were overflowing with the wealth of conquered nations. Nebuchadnezzar stood at the pinnacle of power, the most powerful man on earth, ruling an empire that seemed eternal. But what happens when an emperor who believes he is a god is suddenly humbled? A strange tale is told of his later years. According to some texts, the king was struck by a strange madness. He was driven from his palace and lived like a wild animal. Was this a divine punishment, a political coup, or simply the decline of an aging ruler? The truth remains shrouded. The great king died in 562 BC, leaving his empire to far weaker successors. The stability he built began to crack immediately. His son, Amel-Marduk, ruled for only 2 years before being assassinated. A series of short-lived, ineffective rulers followed. The court was rife with intrigue. The strong hand that had guided the empire for over 4 decades was gone. The empire's foundations were now revealed to be sand. The unstoppable machine of Babylon began to grind to a halt from within. Then came the final king, Nabonidus. He was a scholar and a priest, more interested in ancient gods than modern governance. He neglected Marduk in favor of the moon god Sin, alienating the powerful priesthood and creating dangerous enemies at home. Nabonidus spent a decade in exile in the Arabian desert, leaving his son Belshazzar to rule as regent in the capital. While leadership was divided, a new power was rising in the east. A force that would change the world map was on the move. His name was Cyrus the Great. He united the Medes and Persians into a single force, forging a new and formidable empire. Cyrus swept across the ancient world, known not only for his military genius, but also for his policy of tolerance and mercy. The Persian army was now at the doorstep of Babylon. But how could anyone breach its legendary, unconquerable walls? Babylon felt secure. They had massive fortifications, provisions for years, and the river Euphrates flowing right through the city. Inside, a grand feast was being held. King Belshazzar and the elite feasted, oblivious to the impending danger outside. But Cyrus had a plan. He wasn't going to assault the walls. He was going to go under them. His engineers diverted the mighty Euphrates into a marshland. The water level in the channel running through Babylon began to drop rapidly. Under the cover of darkness, the Persian army didn't climb the walls. They simply waded through the now shallow riverbed, entering unopposed. The invincible city was taken without a major battle. The gates on the riverbanks had been carelessly left open during the festival. The unstoppable Babylonian Empire fell in a single night. Belshazzar was killed, and the golden age of Babylon was definitively over. Cyrus entered as a liberator. He was welcomed by the priests and citizens unhappy with the old rule. The fall of Babylon was a tale of arrogance, internal division, and a fatal underestimation of a clever enemy. The empire Nebuchadnezzar, built to last for eternity, had crumbled in less than a quarter of a century after his death. Babylon would never again be the capital of an independent empire. It became just another province, its golden age a distant memory. Was its strength entirely dependent on one man, built on the vision of an extraordinary king named Nebuchadnezzar? Babylon reminds us that no empire is truly eternal. Pride, complacency, and internal decay can bring down even the mightiest walls. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey fascinating, like and subscribe for more stories of forgotten empires.